Kaiju Creamstick. Don't forget to click.
So welcome back to Kaiju Creamstick. This time we're going to take a break from the Creamsticks for a moment and focus on something that's been on my mind for a month or so, and that's this guy. Okay, so Deadpool and Wolverine has made its millions, although I think by this time it's crossed the $1 billion mark. An interesting side note, there's a series of films called Terrifier, and the third one came out this Christmas. It cost $2 million to make, yet it made $190 million last time I looked. Deadpool and Wolverine cost $200 million and just broke the $1 billion mark. In terms of plot and character development, there's really not a whole lot of difference there either. Meanwhile, whatever your opinion there, Reynolds and Jackman have their Paganis and McLarens under the trees, and countless YouTube savants have doted all over this box office Bentham war. Anyway, since 2016, if you're going for sophomore, crass, juvenile popcorn, I get so lost sometimes.
Pegging isn't new for me, friendo, but it is for Disney.
I mean, you are a ridiculous, immature, half-wit moron. I have never met a sadder, more attention-starved, jabbering little prick.
Gubernatorial.
It's really hard to beat Reynolds' titular anti-hero. See what I did there? I could write the next Marvel Jesus film. But if you were looking,
These guys are cut from the same cloth as Reese, Reynolds, and Wernick.
so the writing skills of this particular movie aside, the question I haven't seen addressed amidst the plethora of meticulous fanboy analysis is one which seemed, painfully obvious to me. Why such lame cameos? Yeah, I mean, there are all sorts of cinematic and meta and swan song justifications I've seen, gone on about. But why these particular characters? It avoids the elephant in the room, in my opinion. Disney, who of course now owns Marvel for better or worse, have most of the characters. A vast army of characters. So what were they thinking? So like everything else in comicdom, everybody has their own opinion as to who the worthwhile characters are. Personally, I tend to favor the secondary characters, tertiary characters, Hal Jordan's Parallax, Superman, Blue. Yes, Blue. I don't know, Hawkgirl, Ragman, Dr. Fate, Mr. Miracle, Azrael. But this is a Disney film, not Warner Brothers. So let's get on to that.
The first character was Vernon Claremont's Pyro, which debuted in Uncanny X-Men 141 as the member of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Adding insult to injury, they dressed Stanford like a Goodwill cosplayer. Even the toy looked cooler. Starting on a bad note, things only worsened throughout this excuse for cinema. The nod to X-Men Apocalypse and Days of Future Past's Sentinels was beyond dismal. When you have such a vast wealth of comic history to draw from, what possesses directors to insist on putting such tripe onto the screen? I mean, is it just ego? There have been so many cool Sentinel designs over the decades. Even Alpha Flight's Roger Box, Tony Stark, and Doctor Doom created their versions, though the world could really use a permanent break from RDJ's return from the cinematic dead, a trope now as hackneyed on the big screen as in the comics themselves. Which leads us to Thunderbird, Warpath, who could have made a cool cameo, but not in this future past Blackwell's List ensemble. Then we have Colossus, who, though a favorite of mine, is always put in drab costumes despite some of the great costumes he's sported. Even some of the goofy ones beat the MCU's overdone, ubiquitous black leather tripe. In Fear itself, Peter Rasputin temporarily assumed the role of Cyttorak's Juggernaut. Chucking the classic design, we're once again subjected to this sorry excuse. While I understand the reasoning for including Frank Miller's Electra Nachos,
Hey, nachos.
Jennifer Garner could have wowed us, but we get this low-rent Farscape knockoff. Criminal. Or whatever the Greek word is for criminal. Given the typical tone of Deadpool films, she could have at least have had a thing for gyros. Gyros, whatever. And while we're on the subject of the fair of sex, this Gen Z Rule 63 hire was a shoo-in, right? So instead of a sleek outfit, we get a club kid whose Saint Laurent sunglasses never fall off, even when getting her arse kicked. Speaking of requisite cameos, another Byrne Claremont creation debuting in Iron Fist number 14, Victor Creed shows up once again in Bryan Singer's dismal fashion statement. And there was Claremont and Herb Trimpe's, best known for his Hulk work, Psylocke, looking like a Gen Alpha poster child for Hot Topic. When we could have had this. And here we have the DEI Poor Man's Furiosa for Callisto, donning Christopher Nolan and George Miller-inspired activewear. Lady Deathstrike. No $200 million opus would be complete without a toad. Yep. Yes, sir. Again with the Rockatansky look. Just can't get enough of that in a non-Mad Max caper. Though he doesn't have the tongue thing going, for pure schlock value, my vote would have been Leapfrog. Again, given that Disney owns most, if not all, of Marvel's comic, television, and cinematic roster, imagine who could have made cameos. The Back from the Dead Banshee, instead of the child. The slick comic book Archangel. Not Singer's SM-derived, teenage angst-ridden take. Though the headpiece is a bit much, if the MCU could pull off guys like Cap, Spider-Man, Thor, Wolverine, and Red Skull, they could surely make Havoc work. Storm is another who should have made the cut, even in Singer's painfully unimaginative wardrobe, though she's had many interesting looks. If you could get Garner, Snipes, Evans, Tatum, and this guy to do cameos, where was Barry? Again, thanks to Singer and Kinberg, we've never had a good Phoenix. Here was the chance. So many opportunities to get it right. So many squandered. Rain Rezo would have been terrific. Okay, talk about a giant fiasco. Nice casting and wardrobe, Taika. Another opportunity up in columns of smoke. James Gunn. Did a lot of things right, and a lot of things like Star-Lord. Following that, we could have had Gamora. Not Gamora, but not Gunn's sword-wielding femme fizzle either. Roddenberry did it better in 1965. Another colossal misfire in Will Poulter and Judianna Makovsky. Classic character that could have made an excellent cameo, but instead we were treated to Toad and Pals. I guess since we didn't technically have Cap, the Falcon needn't show up either, although the DEI factor on this film was iffy at best. For shame, Ryan and Disney. Missed a stellar opportunity to Mad Max Anthony Mackie. One of these days he may even look like the Falcon. Oh, wait, he's Captain America now. Then there's Black and Pierce's Mandarin. At least Kingsley donned Mandarin-esque garb for his broadcast in kind of the same manner the MCU treated Baron Zemo and Batroc, among so many others. Disney owns so many characters, but not this guy. They need to fix that so we don't get another Brett Leonard travesty like this. Disney actually did a decent job with Ted. Considering he and Beta Ray Bill were teased in Ragnarok, they would have been excellent choices. Here are a few travesties versus what could have been in Deadpool and Wolverine. Once again, cosplayers showed the big boys how it's done. While they couldn't get so many characters even remotely accurate, yet they sure nailed the titular character. Again, with Disney's proprietary arsenal, imagine what could have shown up in the void. The Flying Dutchman, the Black Pearl, Captain Nemo's Dread Nautilus, the USS Swine Trek, Jack's Compass, Sean Levy should have just recast like he did with Juggernaut and the Russian. Keanu Reeves, who's also into motorcycles, would have been a crowd pleaser. Robert Pattinson could work also. Hell, you didn't even need Cage. And amongst those void relics, consider the inventive Deadpool hybrids that could have emerged from the multiverse, instead of the few token variations accompanied by hundreds of redundant Deadpool extras. Ah, the perks of nepotism. While there is a comic precedent, why not deviate the character design, as is so often the case, and check another couple of boxes for diversity and Deadpool sensibility? Topping the list of lame cameos, or in this case, the conspicuous lack thereof, is the MCU's most powerful character, until her. Minor historical detail, but Mar-Vell the Kree was the integral hero involved in the Thanos storyline, who shattered the Cosmic Cube, before Kelly Sue DeConnick pilfered and bastardized the character. On an additional note, it was Adam Warlock who put Thanos down, not Stark. It would have been totally worth the price of admission if they'd have substituted Larson's Captain Marvel for Johnny Storm.
I'm like freaking out too.
Along with Reynolds, Reese, and Wernick is director Sean Levy. Technically there were 3 other writing credits, but there are only 4 horsemen, so you can look them up on IMDb.
Son of a...
That could be a keeper.